Welcome back to Maximum News. Welcome to the It's Too Damn Hot edition. Too damn hot.
It's hot.
It's way not because of like all the hot gaming announcements that happened this past week. I mean, literally hot. Like poor Sybsidian, he's dying over there in the Canadian prairies. I'm quite fortunate where I am located in North America, but still, like it's pretty toasty in my room at the moment. You guys don't want to hear us talk about that. Like we do kind of want to complain about it because it is that hot, but we're going to try and take our minds off of it by talking about something positive. Syb, lots of awesome gaming announcements this past week. This is just another reason why I'm believing that 2023 might go down as one of the greatest years in the history of gaming, not just for all the great games that are coming out this year, but all the great gaming announcements that we have to look forward to in the next year. A lot of stuff that came out of Summer Game Fest, Xbox, and obviously the Starfield Direct that happened this past week. We're going to go through all the good stuff while also giving our general impressions of each of the shows. Syb, let's start with Summer Game Fest. General impressions, I'll give mine. Well, first, obviously, it's Sybsidian from the Triple S League, my lovely co-host. He's going to be doing this with me as always. Summer Game Fest, easily between them, PlayStation and Xbox were probably the worst. I don't think that's too controversial to say. Not terrible. I give it like a 6 out of 10. It was like above average in terms of a showcase. Obviously, the big announcements were at Xbox and PlayStation, but Summer Game Fest wasn't without some nice surprises and some nice little tidbits of like announcements. I'm just going to go through my list, and I'm going to do the same thing for when we get to Xbox and, the things that stood out to me about Starfield. And then after I give my list, I'm going to throw it over to you, and then we'll conclude and move on. So, Summer Game Fest, biggest announcement for me, and I think for a lot of people, was not only the release date for Lies of P, the Soulsborne game that's set in the, like, with a Pinocchio aesthetic set within the Pinocchio universe. We also got a demo. And a pretty lengthy demo, a pretty substantial demo that released on all the major systems. Game's coming out on September 19th. It's good. I mean, we don't have to wait much longer for it. But what you guys will soon see as the show goes along is that there's too many great games coming out all within too short a time span within one another. And I'm going to have to play all of them. And my channel is going to go down the tubes because I'm going to be busy playing too many of these games and not putting enough time into making videos. But yeah, Lies of P coming out on September 19th. That is 13 days after Starfield, so I have 13 days to finish all of Starfield. Rest in peace, my carpal tunnel. Yeah, so game looks good. I played the demo, Syb. I don't know, did you have a chance to check it out?
No, not yet.
Okay.
It's one of the ones that our community did get into, and Mooney got into it a little bit. It seems really good. It seems very clean. It seems like we're not going to have a buggy, absolute disaster on our hands. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty accurate. I would say it was very good. It wasn't mind-blowing, but, you can't really expect that from a demo. But everything that needed to be good was good. And I'm hoping that when we're able to progress the game in a few months, that they have saved a whole bunch of mind-blowing stuff there. But yeah, classic Soulsborne type of aesthetic, kind of a nice combination between the Bloodborne aesthetic with, less horror. It's kind of what you get with Lies of P. And I'm really intrigued by the lore because it sort of takes the same Dark Souls approach where you get a few cutscenes here and there, a few dialogue exchanges here and there, but you have to extract a whole bunch of information from the item descriptions. Love that. And I'm particularly interested because one of the items is, I think, called the Monad's Lamp, and some Gnostic symbolism. And if anybody knows anything about my videos, I'm all about that. So, yeah, very excited about that. That was my number one announcement from that show. Spider-Man 2, coming on October 20th, and that gives me 3 days to finish Alan Wake 2, Syb. My God, this is the ultimate in like first world problems, but it's a tenuous first world problem to have because I got to do videos on Alan Wake 2. Man, Spider-Man 1 was so good, Syb, and Spider-Man 2 is looking to be just as illin'. I need to play it, but I don't know how. I'm going to lose a lot of sleep, but man, it's going to be worth it. Sonic Superstars. That was a nice surprise. Going back to Sonic's 2D roots. It's a great looking game. It's not a remake. It's a actually new, fully fledged game with modern graphics. And I'm not a Sonic gamer. I think the last time I played a Sonic game was Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast. But their approach with this was so impressive that I thought I might pick it up. And then let's see what else. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Just because I'm such a huge Prince of Persia fan, I got to put it on here, even though I don't trust that it's going to be good just because it's Ubisoft. But who knows? Might be, again, returning to its roots as a 2D side-scroller. And then there was the Alan Wake 2 demo, which looked really good. Twisted Metal trailer looked nice. Let's see, Pal World. Yeah, Pearl Abyss is... I'm starting to believe they're a scam company. But anyways, we'll talk more about that when I throw it over to side. Warhammer Space Marine 2. I'm going to be playing Warhammer Space Marine 1 just so I can play this game with my friends because that trailer looks sick. And then, of course, side, we can't forget the most important announcement of the most important moment of the entire Summer Game Fest. Nicolas Cage showing up in Dead by Daylight. I'm going to survive by taking Michael Myers' face off.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. It was cool. It was John Travolta, not Michael Myers.
What?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in Dead by Daylight.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was thinking of Michael, the guy who does Shrek. Oh, good lord. Okay. Yeah. No. That makes sense.
Right.
You nailed that. I misunderstood. So
yeah, that's it for me. Saib, go ahead.
I'm a sexy cat. Oh, look at me. I'm a sexy cat. The bees, not the bees. Oh, it's going to be... I have not played that game at all.
Dead by Daylight?
I can tell you honestly, I am legitimately interested in playing it now.
Dude, we're playing it. It's so much fun. It's so chill. And it's just going to be made 10 times better because Nicolas Cage, he's like the human equivalent of pizza. Add it to any situation and everything gets better. But yes, continue.
Yeah. That was an interesting highlight. There are a lot of games that are interesting that look like, something that pulls my interest, that gets my gamer brain turning. I'll just quickly read off basically like the list that I have here.
Yeah.
From doing all of the wish listing. Now, just because it's on this list does not mean that I'm convinced that this is a good game. Sometimes I just want to keep track of it. So adding it to the wish list is the best way to keep track of it. Mm-hmm. I'm so super glad that 20XX got a sequel and it's 30XX and then it's multiplayer. I think that's great because I grew up on and I really miss Mega Man, and I do not know who is handling that IP, but whoever is very bad at basically like everything, like just horrible. So I'm glad that there's a very awesome spiritual kind of successor to it. I think that's great. I poke the guy who owns Epic every once in a while, telling him that he needs to remake Jill of the Jungle. So I'm glad whenever any old game gets a reboot by somebody else, because it's just not happening for some odd reason, for some weird reason. Like, you want to sell 2-3 million copies, make a new Mega Man game. Like this it's just gonna sell. Like it just will on nostalgia alone.
It just works, to quote somebody else we're going to talk about later.
By Sweet Carol looks like an interesting game. King Arthur Legends Rise. No idea if this is going to be good, bad, or just terrible. I have no idea. Really interested to find out what happens with that. Viewfinder, I think the tech behind this is beautiful, and that the game itself is a beautiful game. Something that's very akin to art in the way that you can set things up. They actually have a tag on here that says it's psychological, and I completely agree. Even though it's just a visual puzzle game, there's no like horror or anything to it. So that's super cool.
Dude, I must have been out of the room for like a couple minutes when that 30XX and Viewfinder showed up.
Those were on previous days that you weren't there for.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, no.
This.
I'm sorry. I thought I'm speaking about specifically Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest, like that stream.
Yeah, it was part of the after stuff, but not directly in that. So yeah, it's fine. Warhammer 40K, Space Marines 2 looks amazing. Etern Knights, Stellaris Nexus, Atomic Picnic, Rune Fencer, Ilia, I think that's how you pronounce it. Ritual Knight, Airborne Empire, Toaster Ball, which is again one of these games that came out I think the day before. Toaster Ball is basically Pong. You play as toasters, and you can flick the toast out of the toaster to help block the ball from hitting your side of the map. And it's up to 4-player co-op. So to say brilliant, I mean brilliant.
It's gonna be the next Fall Guys.
Right? Station to station. Baladins. It's a co-op RPG. Mooney thought it looked really good. Gangs of Sherwood was a surprise. I'm really kind of interested in that. I want to see where that goes. We got the Soul Walkers, Tevi, Coinfall, Elements, Ebenezer, and the Invisible World. Yes, that says in Ebenezer Scrooge. It's a Christmas game. Can't wait. Warhaven, also another kind of like big battle game that looks very, very interesting. Warhammer Age of Sigma, Realms of Ruin, looks again really awesome. And The Last Train Home, which is very fascinating, based off of a real story from World War One. So really cool, really interesting. So the week as a whole, and why I'm talking about it more or less as a whole, is because we streamed like most of it, and I've watched basically everything. It's all kind of like blended together into one giant super lobby thing. That's why I can't remember what was from what exactly. So yeah. From the Microsoft showcase, I am...
Well, okay, so we're moving on to Microsoft?
No, just my highlight from it, which is, of course, Starfield. Starfield.
Yeah, we're gonna... Yeah. We'll save Starfield for a little bit later. But yeah, overall, Well, just give your impressions, I suppose, of Jeff Keighley's segment, and then everything else aside from that.
So Jeff Keighley's thing was like, it was good. There wasn't anything like super show stopping other than a handful of things. I'm not into the whole Mortal Kombat thing.
Yeah, neither am I.
I like Mortal Kombat and other gore stuff when it's not
realistic.
When it's not like oh crap! I can't even. I can barely talk.
Anatomically
correct.
Yeah.
I am really weirded out by that. I legitimately am. I really don't think that it should be in games like that. It's just, there's a point where it's too much, and that's too much. Like I think gore for me should just be things that are like explode, and it's in some part comical, because when you get too real, there's some things that start to happen there, and it's not good for some people.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. I just don't like it because I don't like fighting games. I could never get any good at them. But yeah, I understand what you mean. And more power to people that enjoy them.
I tried so hard to be good at fighting games. I was never that good.
The best I could ever do was Zelda. Sorry, the best I could ever do was Link in Super Smash Brothers. Sorry, I could feel like a bunch of Nintendo fans the world over having a mini heart attack just because I said that. But that's not even really a fighting game. That's a brawler. And then for the rest of Summer Games Fest, what were your impressions about like all the other showcases?
All like, they were all pretty standard. The OTK one was better than average for this year, mostly because it was funny to watch the hosts just constantly rip on each other, like, and like be like serious about it, like there was some kind of like thing at stake there. That's the funny. I think that's the way to do it when you have like multiple hosts. The whole like, super awesome fake, like, we love having you here. Why, yes, sir, whom I have never seen or spoken to before. I love seeing you too here. And we are here for the games. Yes, the games. The games are great. No, you're here for a paycheck. Like, come on. I'm not trying to insult game devs, but it's just the fakeness that you get from like the polished events, right? Like the things that are hyper polished,
like the Microsoft Kinect demonstrations with the kids. Yes,
yeah, like that, or like when people are reading off a teleprompter. It's like if you're reading off a teleprompter, like you're not that passionate about it, and it's really not coming through. So I think it's rough. It's really rough to see something like that. When it's like the super like polished, like clean, like sterilized thing, and it's like, nah, I like seeing it when it's real or when it's just like hammed up. Because if you just ham something up, like the Devolver Digital Showcase, if you ham something up, that is honestly more funny to me than somebody trying to be funny whilst reading a script. Like it's just not good. So yeah, overall, like there was no bad showcase other than the accessibility showcase was insulting to as somebody who has a registered disability. I was insulted by that. I don't know if I'm crazy, and I don't want to get too much into it because I need to bounce it off some other people, but I was legitimately insulted by watching it. I thought it was the most pandery, pathetic stuff I have heard in a very, very long time, and a lot of the games weren't actually doing anything. They were claiming things, like we are very cognizant of disabilities, thus we have included a slider for the volume. You can turn the volume up or down depending on your hearing needs. It's like,
that's in every game already.
I have never encountered a game where that's not in the options. And I play a lot of indie games that are like in early vertical slice format. And somehow all of them, I have never remembered a time where I've not seen that. And then there's like difficulty sliders. And then somebody like talked for like 2 minutes straight about how, intelligent they were because they included a colorblind mode. It's like, again, it's like, these are really common things that are in like every game out there. What are you talking about? So anyways, I thought that was just really bad. And there was some other stuff, but I need to get feedback on it before I go on a roast or a rant or something like that.
Yes, but positively speaking, most years when we have like a whole bunch of really, really crappy showcases, for the most part, everything was at worst above average, and in some cases mesmerizing, and we're going to be getting to that later on. Let's move from Summer Game Fest onto the Xbox Showcase, which literally happened just a few hours ago. We reacted to all of it on stream. I got my list of highlights right here again. I'm going to go through them really quickly, if I can get my phone to cooperate with me. Okay. So, first of all, really happy to see Hellblade 2 come back. Again, I think that was a game that was announced a bit too early. I think, it was announced like 4 years ago. And we finally have a release date. It's going to be coming out in 2024 at some point, which is fine. I don't mind waiting for that game. Just make it the next masterpiece to follow up the masterpiece that was the first game. That game is Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice is probably one of the most, if not the most underrated game of the last 10 years. I think of it that highly. It's absolutely magnificent. And I can't wait to see what they do. Gameplay-wise, graphics-wise, everything looks to be state-of-the-art for this game. Avowed. Syb, I was expecting this game to be canceled. Like, I thought because now that Obsidian was under... was it Bethesda that bought Obsidian? Sorry, remind me of how that whole thing works. Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So Microsoft bought Obsidian first, and then they bought
Bethesda. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
So when they announced Avowed the first time,
that was before that.
It came out at about the same time the trailer for Elder Scrolls 6 was shown off. Which, of course, was
5
like...
years ago.
This is coming out. We're working on this currently a little bit, but we're mostly going to start working on this after we finish all of our main and then DLC work and expansion work for Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, that's going to be a long time from now.
Mm-hmm.
So Avowed dropped this, and they dropped this because the previous game to that, the one that they had just done, was The Outer Worlds, which a lot of people kind of compared to kind of like their version of Fallout, because they weren't allowed to work on Fallout anymore.
Yeah.
And then they said this is their version of essentially, the Elder Scrolls, because they couldn't work on that stuff anymore,
right.
or they wanted to do it as kind of like a competitor.
Exactly. So now that they've been brought all under one roof, I was just under the impression that they wouldn't want to put out Avowed because they would want to put their full force behind the Elder Scrolls when it would eventually come out. However, I was proven wrong. And I'm terribly delighted that I was proven wrong, because now I have an Elder Scrolls-like game to play in 2024, which will hold me over until Skyblivion comes out in 2025, and then hopefully Elder Scrolls 6 in 2026. But even then, I feel like that's pushing it. Game looks good, looks solid. I'm going to get it just because of that reason. Plus, it is Obsidian. They, people that made Fallout New Vegas, people that made Outer Worlds, people that made Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, just to name a few. So totally excited for that. A few smaller games. 33 Immortals, Syb, that looks really cool. That looks really, really cool.
A raid game. So a game that takes like more than 20 players and throws them into a difficult boss fight. I don't know how much there is in the form of the Trinity, like, as in like tank, healer, DPS. I don't know how much support play factors into this, whether it's just a nuts free for all. It's going to be really interesting to see how that all pans out. The art style is, of course, very simple, very simplistic. So yeah, let's hope that it looks amazing.
Yeah, well, it does look very, very intriguing. It's just a matter of whether or not the gameplay that they're showcasing to us will actually work out as it's established. I hope it does, though. It's an interesting idea. Dungeons of Hinterberg. I just dug the general concept and the aesthetic of this game. It's like the world of magic overtakes Austria, and then you go around and see how everything turns out. Interesting idea. Might check it out. Jusant or Jusant. I don't. It's spelled Jusant. I don't know how it's pronounced, but the game looks really cool. It looks like it comes from the same people that made Life is Strange and Vampire, and it looks like you climb walls and explore the world in a very relaxing, chill experience. And I'm all about that type of stuff, and Don't Nod has made some good stuff in the past, so hopefully that's going to turn out okay. We learned about this one a couple days ago, and it was just reconfirmed as a part of the Xbox showcase, but nonetheless, I'm very excited for Persona 3 Remake. Yeah. I've been wanting to get into Persona 3. I've never played it, but anybody who's a fan of Persona knows it's a timeless conundrum. Do you play Persona 3 Fez as it was on the PS2, or do you play Persona 3 Portable, which is the one that has been the one that's been re-released? Persona 3 Fez has all the cutscenes intact, whereas Persona 3 supposedly has better combat. Because of that conundrum, I've stayed away from it. However, it's looking like Persona 3 is going to solve that problem, because it's going to be the story, but with Persona 5's gameplay, which I think most people will agree is superior. So that's coming out in early 2024, and that should hold me over until supposedly Persona 6 comes out in 2026, which are the rumors. So very excited for that. I'm going to save Metaphor Rifantasio until I throw it over to you, because you expressed some interest in that. And then finally, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty finally has a release date. And it's coming out a week after Lies of P. So, yeah, no chance I'm going to be able to play that. I've been thinking about going back to Cyberpunk 2077, but this pretty much just cements that I'm not going to be able to get back to it because I just have too many other games that I got to get ahead on. But it's good to finally have a release date. Sybe, your highlights.
So, Persona 3, like you said, it's... I'm interested in this because it has more choice than you normally get for main character. I'm hoping that they actually include that, and yeah, just that one and Metaphor seem like really good games that are bringing the Persona game into the mainstream audience of giving it access to as many people as possible. And I think that's a very good thing.
Who would ever thought that Persona... Well, hold on a second. It's not exactly... I'm pretty sure Persona 6 will probably end up being PlayStation exclusive, right? It's just they have this deal with Xbox for these particular games.
Maybe not. Because who makes the Persona series? It's not
Atlus.
It's not a Atlus, and they're not owned by Sony, are they?
No, they're owned by Sega.
So they're owned by Sega. Sega is in a bit of a cash crunch. If they see 10 million sales of Persona stuff over all of the other platforms in lead up to Persona 6, you have to ask yourself, how much money is it going to cost Sony to keep that stuff limited on a single console?
Yeah.
And for how long? Because I refuse to believe that they're going to release all of these games, see, if the sales are good, see that number, and then go back to Sony and go, all right, so, well, I guess we're going to take a massive pay cut for this next release because we're only releasing it to less than a quarter or a third of the total gamers in the world. And that's assuming that you're not going to be able to run Persona on a phone. Because, phones right now are starting to almost, rival, laptops. Give it another 3 years, and, the newest ones are going to be... I'm positive that in 3 years, the latest cell phone from, Apple or Samsung or whoever is going to be able to run this game. Maybe not all of the, the phones that are coming out that year, but it's why limit yourself? And I think this is something that we're going to be seeing more and more and more and more as games evolve to include the pocket devices that we all have with us, to include more and more of the VR sets that we're starting to get. People just maybe decide that, hey, they'd really just rather play on whatever thing they happen to have, and they don't want to have to lock into a single console experience strapped to their television at home.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's going to come off. So big question there. What will happen? A lot of Japanese devs have been soured extremely by Sony over the last few years. They have been treated horribly. They have been given ridiculous hoops to jump through when it comes down to what they can or cannot add into their game. And a lot of them are getting pretty upset. Honestly, a lot of them are getting really upset by the being yanked around constantly, as some of them would say. It feels like they're a dog, and they do not. I don't know if you know this, but most people do not like being treated like a dog.
Right.
As much as we love our dogs, you try to treat anybody like a dog, they're probably going to get a fair bit angry.
It depends on how you treat your dog. You and I treat our dogs very, very well, but yeah, I get the point. What was I just about to say? Yeah, so hopefully Persona will, the wonder that is Persona, because it only seems to be getting more popular, especially with how well received Persona 5 was, that the joy that can be spread to as many people as possible. All right, anything else?
So Clockwork Revolution looks really cool. I gotta be able to play it. Like a Dragon has the best nudity avoiding camera angles of all time. I thought that was. I legitimately laughed when they lifted the was it like a drink or something?
Yeah.
And behind the drink was a bottle of suntan lotion.
Yeah.
And then he started to move, and the crab started to walk with him. I thought that was great. Good humor. I had a good laugh. I think it's great.
Did the stream get struck because of that?
It's been getting struck by a whole ton of different things. So Ash was just before it came on here, Ash was like, "Oh look, I got 5 more things to take out." Like, so it absolutely ludicrous. Yeah. What's this one called? Still wakes the deep. Looks
interesting,
creepy and very, very.
Don't know anything
very
about
creepy,
it.
Not much. There was a number of trailers that didn't have as much gameplay in them as I would like. Key among them, Fable.
Yeah. What the heck?
I did enjoy the interview that they did and how they did showcase some of the bar stuff, but getting at least a little clip of gameplay, I really think that was a mistake for them to not put it in, because we have no idea where it's currently standing as far as gameplay goes. Is it good? Is it atrocious? Is it bad? Like, how's it being handled?
Well, and did they say, like, was there a year release in the trailer?
No, there wasn't. There was not that I saw. I'm pretty positive that I did not see a date. All we saw is that it's a trailer. It's a real trailer, and that's all we know.
In engine, supposedly, yeah. So
supposedly in engine, and that wouldn't surprise me. It does look very smooth. It did say captured in game, and it is in game footage.
And believe me, that's going to come back to bite them if it isn't.
If it's not, they're in deep doo-doo, and they're up a creek without a paddle. So this is again, it's like one of those things where it's like, let's hope that this is going to be good. Let's hope that they've done it right, and that they're that it's good and that it's solid, that we can expect to see more from it very soon. Hopefully within, this, like, the peak kind of season of, like, game showcases for the next, like, 2 months. There's going to be a bunch more. Are we going to see more at Gamescom? What's going to happen there? All that kind of stuff. I don't know. We'll see. Star Wars Outlaws looks
interesting, I guess.
Really interesting, depending on how it comes out. And again, something that a trailer like that doesn't really explain to us. How does it come out? What does it look like? I can say that if it comes out and it feels like we're playing, some form of Andor, then that's going to be pretty cool. But if that's a big if, and right now we don't know for sure. And a lot of people have expressed, I've heard this a lot recently, very recently, a lot of people just in our Discord, just an hour ago, somebody's like, I really don't care about anything that Disney is attached to, because I have zero interest in any of that stuff, because they're just dead set on changing story. And then when people don't like it, they get mad and accuse them of stuff. And I have to agree with that. It's like the people growing up watching, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air suddenly don't want to go watch a movie because of the actress change. No, I'm pretty sure they don't want to see the movie because it's very poorly written. That seems to be it. Like, geez, like,
it's not that hard to understand. Yeah.
So a lot of people not that excited about the Star Wars thing, and it's really getting palpable now. And I think, honestly, the best thing that they could possibly do for any future content for Star Wars would be to announce that the content is actually being sold back to George Lucas. I honestly think at this point that's the only way to recover the brand, because that will get people excited to the point where they'll actually pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And then from there, they have to sell them on the changes that they make. Because right now, most people looked at that and went yawn. I think Z's were the most, like, common. I the language police is staring at me. All the Zs that I saw in the chat screen, on the main chat, a bunch of reactions on Twitter and stuff like that. People were just kind of like, meh, I'm over it. It's been ruined for me, and I don't have a taste for it anymore. So that's really
damn
rough.
Shame.
That's a shame.
But you know what's going to fix that, Sybe? Is the mods for Starfield.
Yeah, the mods for Starfield will fix it. Not only the mods, but perhaps some funny Easter eggs. I was just talking with Ash about this. So one of the things that we saw there, kind of quickly, was the parents. Right, you can pick up to, I think they said 3 perks. Right, perks are these cool things that change the gameplay in some way, like having your parents be alive and living in a house that you are currently paying for, just so you know. And you go and visit them, and you get to interact with them. Now, that's cool. I like that touch. That's a great touch. I have a couple questions, though, and these are interesting questions. Max, I think you're going to agree. What happens if you take the alien DNA perk and go home to see your parents?
Right.
Now, obviously, they're probably not going to be aliens, but are you actually their son? Or did they add DNA to you as a child as a way of experimenting on you?
Exactly, yeah.
Is that what happened? Is there going to be some dialogue for that? What's going to happen there? That's extremely interesting.
Why'd you tell me I was adopted? Well, we kind of figured you would have figured that out.
You know, and what happens if you bring home there's the other perk for your superfan. What happens if you take your superfan with you, which is a thing you can do? You can also take them out to a planet and kill them.
Yes.
But what happens if you take your superfan and you take them out to your parents' place and then you leave him there? What happens? Does he, do your parents call you and go, honey, we were just wondering, you left George over here and George has been sleeping in your room and wearing your clothes. Is there something we should be concerned about? I mean, I don't know if the devs thought about any of this, but it would be pretty sweet if they thought about some of this, right?
I mean, they put so much thought into everything else, it seems.
It's so cool. I'm so interested right now. And then with mods, I mean, we're going to be able to, if anybody's got some crazy thoughts on how you could tweak the story or add a couple voice lines or script an event, just with those ideas, I mean, I can't wait to see what happens after a few years of this, especially if we get our hands on a bunch of really good cutting room floor content too.
Yes.
Which
there will be.
My goodness. This is I am so stoked for this game. I am so stoked for this game because as a modder, I'm like, all the things that I can do. I can literally make a Firefly ship, import a whole bunch of voice lines from the Firefly show, which maybe is not necessarily legal, but maybe it's just free and maybe they just sound like them,
right?
And they're just really good acting riffs. There's a fan-made Firefly show that goes that went for 10 or 15 episodes or something like that. So there's options out there. That's all I'm saying. There's options. But if you ever wanted to live your sci-fi fantasy in a number of different ways, from Star Wars to Star Trek to whatever, I mean, right when I was watching them do the ship builds, I was like, on day one, I'm almost positive I can make a really closely similar looking Defiant from Deep Space Nine. I'm positive I can make a really good looking Defiant class ship.
Right. It's pretty good. Well, before we get into the details, let's sort of circle back around to sort of the main event, the whole Starfield Direct thing. Give our general impressions, and then we'll obviously go into detail like we have for the past two things. Sybe, we were really anticipating this. Obviously, Starfield is my most anticipated game of the year. Alan Wake just slightly behind it, and I'm pretty sure it's your most anticipated game of the year as well. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. I was expecting what they showed us to be good. I wasn't expecting a 45-minute presentation virtually devoid of gimmicks and flashy imagery, but a very thorough examination of the game structure and systems. And Syb, what we saw looks awesome. This
Fantastic.
game looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Love this showcase. Aside from a few things that stood out to me, like nitpicks and then one or two general worries, everything that they showed me, I loved. It looks like it's going to be fulfilling most of what was promised to us with No Man's Sky right before that game originally came out, and Star Citizen as it should be, minus the whole going from space right down to the Earth's surface sort of thing. But maybe that'll be added in through mods. Syb, I'll give my specifics in a second, but I want to throw it over to you so you can give your general impressions, but I'm pretty sure everybody else knows how you feel. But please go off.
I think this is probably going to be one of the best games of our generation. What Skyrim was, and still is for a lot of people, I think Starfield's going to do the same thing. Now, a lot of people out there are going to be like, let's not believe them on face value, and it's like 100%.
Sure, yeah.
Right there with you, 100%. I'm not going to. Don't pre-order this unless you're ordering the special edition, which is very expensive. But it comes with a working smartwatch that I just checked out some people commenting on it, and the smartwatch is a comparable like $200 smartwatch. So I mean, that seems like a good deal. So yeah, just generally speaking, I think that this game is going to give the audience and the players something that they have not seen before. I raised this several times in our live stream when we were watching it. It's like, they have made what Star Citizen promised to be a decade ago.
Yep.
And $500 million ago.
Yep.
Like, I just don't understand how this game has made with all this stuff, with all these planets, with all these AI. And again, we have to see whether this stuff works. So we're gonna, like a lot of people said, they're going to wait until we get our hands on it and do a review before they buy it, because they were so burnt out on 76. They were so disgusted with 76 that they literally said, I'm not buying another thing until I know that it's good. So, getting it, streaming it, all important stuff. So, but overall, this is a really good game. This is not only just a good game, this is a foundational game as far as like tech goes. And because it's so easy to mod, all of the next gen stuff that we can come up with AI, I think a lot of it is going to be easy to implement into Starfield as soon as they put out those modding tools, and even before the modding tools, because between versions of games, it was really easy to rip out some stuff and then replace it with other things via just the modding tools that came out for the previous game. So, for example, when I was modding Fallout 4, I could do most of the voice work for Fallout 4, including lip syncing, by utilizing a Skyrim tool for it. And then just brute force those files into the file, and bingo bango, you have your stuff. So this was like, I mean, this is an amazing level of easy, like truly amazing level of easy.
Well, you're not going to get it any easier than Bethesda. They've always been very good about that, and they would be fools to not let people maximize their modding tools for something like Starfield. All right, so let's go into the specifics. I'm just going to go down my list. Feel free to interject at any time, Syb. The number one thing that stood out to me about this showcase was the planets themselves, the environments, the weather effects, the creatures that aren't ugly like they are in No Man's Sky, the distant views. All of it looks organic. It looks very, very natural and unique. Every single planet that you go to, it looks to be like an explorer's paradise, which I love exploring in games. That's the one thing that I could do no problem all the time in No Man's Sky, whereas most people would dislike it. But it looks great here. Yes, I have anything on the planets themselves.
The tech that's being used for it is very revolutionary. And again, just exactly how much, we have to wait and see. We can't count our chickens before they're hatched. But the tech that they're talking about and the way that they've implemented it, this is super huge. And just quickly, again, referencing the fact that modding in previous Bethesda games was always a little bit difficult when you wanted to create a new area, because you kind of had to go from scratch, because you couldn't really use any of the existing land because it was already very congested.
Yeah.
This is a problem solved when it comes to Starfield, because not only are you going to have access to large worlds that are curated, you also have the access to the other large worlds that are less curated, that are more
procedurally
generated, and you'll be able to like pick one of those out, set them as, loaded up, pick your favorite kind of like generated version, then plop that down as a saved permanent planet so that it doesn't change from user to user, put it into the game as either a new location or as an existing location, and then you'll be able to tweak that up to Kingdom Come. And I'm starting to like, we're gonna get a Hoth, we're gonna get a Tatooine, we're gonna get a what's a famous Star Trek planet?
Oh, Bespin. You mean Star Wars?
No, Star Trek. Literally Star Trek.
Oh, I don't know. I never. Yeah, Star Trek isn't my jam.
So Vulcan. We're gonna get a Vulcan. Somebody's gonna make a Vulcan out there. 100%.
Yes.
All of these things are coming, and I think that the world generation, some people turn their noses up at it, go, I don't want 1,000 planets. You don't have to go. Nobody's forcing you to go to the 1,000 planets. Nobody's even forcing you to go to all the planets that don't have anything on them. You're just going to have the option to go to whatever planets you want, and that's cool.
Yes. You can make mods that have missions on those planets. Doesn't that sound amazing to you? Guys, it's not like No Man's Sky where there's 15 quintillion planets or whatever the exact number is, where you're literally just going from planet to planet, procedurally generated. No, there's curated content there so that you can get rid of that monotony. That was never an issue. Yes, I hate the people that are making that criticism, and they're still doing it like mindlessly. But anyways, let's get back to the ships though. I cannot believe not only the exterior detail and being able to make your ship look like Voltron as whatever the hell that thing was in the trailer, and just how detailed also it looks on the inside. It looks like, oh man, I cannot believe the level of detail that can go into the personalization, the colors, the verticality, the horizontal. It looks like an actual, like you would imagine the inside of a spaceship would actually look like.
Yeah. And that's really cool. The fact that they've added this, like, basically what they think that if
NASA, the words they use for NASA punk.
Is this kind of NASA punk, kind of like very realism based.
Yes, that's my point.
Sci-fi stuff, and it's like they've handled retro punk really, really well. They've really nailed that down. I guess it's retro futurism punk.
Mm-hmm.
That's Fallout.
Yeah,
they've really mastered that quite well. So I'm pretty, like, even sword and sorcery punk in Elder Scrolls when you go down to the Dwemer locations, right?
Oh yeah,
like that's very steampunk-ish with gears and stuff like that. So again, I think they have an amazing art studio that they've really nailed, and I think that again, if this is what it is, and we saw 30 minutes of it today, and it looks really solid.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see, like, I didn't see a lot of like forced editing and stuff like that.
No,
we did see that on the first trailer that came out. People were very critical of that, going, why is this NPC doing this? That doesn't seem to make sense. And well, they were doing that because that was a scripted thing, because they were filming it to show off the jump jets and stuff like that. This time, what did they do? They just showed off people playing with the jump jets. Like that's how they should have shown this game off to begin with.
Yeah.
Not the whole like, let us enter a scenario where 3 people enter from the side, and then we use our jump jets to go over here. It's like nobody plays like that. So when they see that, they realize that it's very fake to begin with, and what we're getting here is not fake anymore.
Very, very wise. It's like they were paying attention to what we were saying. And like I said, no gimmicks, no flashy imagery. It's just them playing the game, and it looks great. And then finally, in my list of positives, going back to what you were just saying about the trailer that we got last year, Syb, one of the things in that trailer that looked very unpolished, at worst troublesome to me, was the combat. Back then, it looked kind of clunky. It looked kind of janky, kind of like, it's charmingly janky when you play it in Fallout, but with a new franchise like Starfield, where everything else looks relatively smooth, with that original trailer, the combat did look off. But it looked great here. It's not Call of Duty, it's not going to be at that level of polish. And I mean, I'm talking about the combat. I'm not talking about the whole of the game in regards to Call of Duty. I'm talking about the combat here. It's not that good. And it's not going to be as good as it is in most first-person shooters. But it seems to be doing the job correctly. It looks kinetic. It looks fun. Plus, it gives you a variety of approaches to combat. So you don't have to go in all guns blazing. You can do what I intend to do, which is do stealth at every possible turn. I'm going to crawl into the vents like Solid Snake and shank them with the knife, which is, you can see that you can do that in the trailer. And then, you can use SMGs, large machine guns, Gatling guns, whatever suits your fancy. Syb, what did you think of the combat, and what approach are you going to take?
Almost stealthy as always.
Nice.
I enjoy the stealthy mode. I enjoy sneaking around and doing stuff on the sly. It always feels good. Probably will try to go like melee / like sniper, because it's a favored combo of mine. Yeah. But I will also give the big extra large weapons a try and see if I want to change things up a little bit.
I want mini nukes, like we got in Fallout. Although probably not. All right, so that's all from my major positives. I do just have a few negatives, but before I get to that, is there anything else that you wanted to bring up in terms of positives?
Just generally, it's like I think this is feeling very good, and I know that there might be some issues, and there might be some things that people don't like the way as is.
Yeah.
But I think that you got to remember that this is going to be modded up the
wazoo
to insane levels, and I think that those mods are probably going to make the game amazing to whatever way that you like. I can't imagine playing Skyrim without mods.
No way.
I keep forgetting when people like post I keep getting got by those videos where people post the opening the opening bit where you're on the wagon, right, in Skyrim. Mm-hmm. I keep forgetting that that's a thing, because I saw that I think maybe twice in game.
Yeah. And then ever since then, it's the alternate start mod.
Yeah, it's the alternate start mod, and I use the alternate start, and then all of the other alternate starts that people have for it. I think the last time I went in, it was like 7 pages of options for alternate starts.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And you're like going, which one was it? Was it on page 5 or 7, or was it? Wait, is there 8 pages now or 9? I think there's 9 pages. It must be on page 9 where the one start where I really like this, that, or the other thing. It's like, yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's great. I would never ever want to see a Bethesda game without mods,
right? Because
mods literally make the game. And I'll know if I got to stop playing Bethesda games if they ever stop allowing you to mod the games and they come down real stickler on it. Well, you got to pay for these things, otherwise.
Yeah, that would be suicide for them.
Yeah, that would be, and I think they know that.
Yeah, they're not that stupid. Well, going into I'm going to use this to transition into my negatives. Just a very, like I said, very, very small list. Speaking about never being able to play Skyrim without mods ever again, one mod that I always include whenever I play Skyrim is hair mods. Why? Because the hair in Skyrim is garbage. It's terrible. So I downloaded that.
It's not just terrible. It's like they have a special level of like terribleness when it comes to hair. And they're not the only ones. It's like half of the studios out there. I mean, I'm just going to go out and assume that everybody who works at the studio is bald and they're married or they live with people who are also bald. Because there's no possible way they could think that hairstyle is good.
Yeah. They're all terrible. And it's not like the engine is incapable of making good hair, whether it's the old one or the new one. Well, that tradition continues because we saw the character creator today, and some of the hair on some of those potential, templates for whatever character you'll be did not look good, Side. Did not look good. Hopefully it's something that can polish, but considering the tradition of bad hair, I'm not holding out hope. But like you said, sorry, go ahead.
It's a common problem throughout many studios, and I don't know why. There are modders who can create better things. I really do wonder why Bethesda has never hired any of these people. I remember that Fallout 4 came out, and it was pretty terrible for hairstyles until about a week and a half in, and there was a whole bunch of new hairstyles, and then the hair just kept getting better and better and better and better and better. And it's like, wow, that's amazing that's a thing. That's an actual thing that happens.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's just because they figured that the modders in that respect will just come in and take care of it. But I don't see why they view it to be that much effort. Anyways, just two other things. One thing that did concern me when we saw that trailer that released at, I think it was E3 of last year, was the frame rate drops, because there were quite a number of them in that original trailer, and it looks a whole lot better with the direct that we got today, but there were a few moments where you can notice that the frames were dropping normally when there were explosions happening on screen. That said, though, not that big of a deal. There were moments where we got to see gameplay. I think that was in 60 FPS, which makes me very happy. I was concerned about that. I was like, oh no, are they going to do what Redfall did, where they released with 30 FPS? But no, generally speaking, it looks good, but hopefully there's a little bit more polish that can be done there. And then finally, New Atlantis side. That's one of the main cities, like the curated cities that we see in the game. Is it just me, or did that city look too big? Like, overwhelmingly big? You know, I wonder.
Good question.
Yeah, I just wonder if, the complaint that people are making about there being too many planets, that's only a problem if you, like I said before, take the No Man's Sky approach. However, I think it is reasonable to suggest that a city can be too big if it doesn't flow well with the structure of the gameplay. And New Atlantis, while it looks good and the locations that we saw in there look good, I just wonder how it's going to. I just wonder if it's something that we can explore every nook and cranny, and whether or not there's any point in doing it. I don't know. I'm probably just overthinking it, but it was just something that popped up in my mind when I saw it. Anyways, those are all my negatives. Saib, did you have any to offer?
Yeah, on that, I would hate to be Chidi from The Good Place, who has a crushing fear of making choices and being plopped down in the middle of just a random city in this game. Because you're like, what direction do I go? If I go this direction, will I encounter something cool, or will I encounter something terrible? Will people critique my choice of going left instead of going right? What is my options? How many options are there? Oh my god, this city goes on forever! And then you literally die of a heart attack. It's like, yeah, that's a
It's
thing. That's an
overwhelming.
option. That's a potential thing for some people, and I don't. I feel very sorry for them, but it's also really cool at the same time. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. You know, you look at places like Skyrim, specifically like Solitude, and everything is designed so compact, so close.
Yeah.
There's so few NPCs because those NPCs all have names. They're all NPCs that you can get to know,
It all
run
has
into,
it all
learn
has
their
a purpose.
names. Yeah, all has a purpose. In a city that's like, for example, like, you know, the Night City for CDPR, for Cyberpunk, it was like, who do I know in the city? Can I follow any of these NPCs home to their, to, you know, not to be creep, but just to like see if the game has like a
Yeah.
living ecosystem, and none of that did there. So are we going to have the same problem? Is that an actual problem, or is it a contrived problem? Is it a good thing to give somebody that much ability to free roam and interact and check out, you know, things, or is that just too much and you need to kind of like take a chill pill? We're going to see. These are all really good answers, really good questions, and this is not a question that I don't think that Bethesda knows that that doesn't know that they're dealing with it. I think they know exactly what they're dealing with, because you got to remember that their first Elder Scrolls game had like some 40,000 NPCs in it, and like, or was it 40,000 dwellings and like 100,000 NPCs? Like, that game was massive. There wasn't much there to it, and they commented on knowing the difference between having stuff that's just endlessly, made for the purpose of just quick, light-hearted, pointless interaction. You know, if you go to any of the big worlds, right off of getting off of the first quest, you haven't even like taken your ship up to space yet. Can you run around the city and steal literally everything that's not nailed down? And how much stuff would you have left? We saw that one video of that one developer who has a table that's only for sandwiches that she has stolen from other people. That's crazy and a little weird, but it's also awesome. Hilarious and awesome all at the same time. It is legitimately one of the most amazing things that they put that in an official trailer. That's amazing. That's like that one guy, I can't remember his name. He filled a room full of coffee mugs in Fallout 4. And you're just wading through the coffee mugs when you go into the room. Why? Because he can. And that's the point of this kind of stuff. You can do it because you can. So yeah, amazing.
Yeah. So guys, that will do it as far as our I guess this is actually the end of the show. Yeah, lots of stuff to cover with Starfield. I'm going to be watching that trailer, I think, 4 or 5 more times this week, and multiple times over the next few weeks until the game finally comes out in September, on September 6th. Yeah, and it's a wonderful time to be a gamer, not just because Starfield's coming out, but all these other amazing games are coming out. As much as Saib and I complain about us not being able to get to these games, that's just more so about the nature of our lives. We're all blessed as gamers that we have this wide variety of games that we can get access to, and so many wonderful games that are coming up. Anyways, guys, that will do it for us. I want to thank Saib, as always, for doing this show with me and providing his wonderful insight. Saib, do you want to tell people about the main Triple S League channel before we finish?
Yeah, check out the Triple S League on YouTube. And we are going to be working on mods for Starfield. If the game is 75% as good as what we saw today, we are definitely going to be making mods. And we have some really great ideas. We did some of the biggest mods for Fallout 4. I can't wait to sink my teeth into this, try for something even bigger and more awesome, possibly just more awesome, because there's just a lot of awesomeness things that can now be done that we couldn't really do feasibly in the previous games. So I am stoked. I'm very excited, and I hope you all want to come along for the ride.
I volunteer to be a voice actor. and or editor. And you guys could just find me at all the regular forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. I will put links to that and the Triple S League main channel in the description box below. Thanks, guys, and until we do this again next week, I want to remind you, as always and as per usual, stay yellow.